It's early April 2019, and a flight of 4 Japanese Self-Defense Forces F-35s take off for a routine training flight. At the lead is an experienced pilot with 3,200 hours of total flight time and 60 hours with the cutting-edge fighter. After a brief flight though, the lead officer signals an abort to the training exercise, and then mysteriously vanishes from radar. But how in the world does an F-35, the most advanced plane in the world, go missing? The weather that day had been perfect for flying. Warm and sunny with few clouds in the sky. As a close ally of the United States, Japan has been a partner in the F-35 program, and one of the few nations cleared for the sale of the state-of-the-art fighter jet. In anticipation of a purchase of almost 200 aircraft, Japanese pilots had begun flying F-35 shipped over from the United States in order to familiarize themselves with the machine and its technology. What was just another routine training flight, however, ended in tragedy and mystery when the flight's lead suddenly disappeared. After only 28 minutes in the air, the flight's lead sent out a single signal to the rest of his pilots, ordering an abort to the exercise. Shortly after, the F-35 simply disappeared from radar. Its identification beacon was either turned off or began malfunctioning. With the beacon not operational, the F-35's stealth features would have made it difficult to track, and the last thing radar operators knew was that the plane was headed down and looked to be in serious trouble. While hard data is all but impossible to ascertain given the extreme secrecy behind the aircraft, investigators were hoping to find clues as to what happened from the classified communications and data sharing system on board the jet. What is known is that the pilot did not signal for help, and it's believed that he did not eject, or if he did, he never activated a rescue beacon, which only adds even more mystery to the entire event. The aircraft crashed just north of the main Japanese island, in waters almost 5,000 feet deep, which would make recovery of its components very difficult. An initial search for the craft involved the Japanese Navy, though they worked in close cooperation with the U.S. military to include secretive U.S. high-altitude reconnaissance planes. Working in conjunction, the search effort discovered pieces of the plane's left and right rudders 2 hours after it went down, but further wreckage would take weeks to locate. The U.S. chartered a civilian deep-sea diving support vessel, the Van Gogh, and dispatched a remotely operated vehicle to aid in the undersea search. With a maximum depth of 20,000 feet, there's few places in the ocean the ROV can't go. The Japanese quickly dispatched the Kaimei, a deep-sea scientific survey ship, along with their own ROVs. The immediate concern was that China or Russia would be able to locate the wreckage first and plunder the secrets of the high-tech aircraft. The U.S. was adamant, however, that there was no chance that either nation would be able to find the jet first, and given its stealth characteristics and proximity to the U.S. and Japanese forces when it went down, it does not seem likely that neither China nor Russia would have the time to find the jet before American and Japanese assets reached the area. However, fears of plundering military secrets from wreckage at the bottom of the sea are not completely unfounded. The U.S. Navy famously lifted up half of a destroyed Soviet nuclear sub during the Cold War, keeping the entire operation a secret and recovering several manuals and 2 nuclear torpedoes, all without Soviet knowledge. If that were to happen here, it could catapult both the Russian and Chinese 5th-generation fighter programs by reverse engineering American technology. While both nations are developing stealth fighters, it's widely believed that neither the Chinese or the Russian planes will ultimately be as capable as the F-35, although both will be an impressive effort for nations with very little experience building stealth aircraft. Given the fact that it took a month to recover part of the flight data recorder and cockpit from the bottom of the sea though, it's highly unlikely that China or Russia would have any better luck in locating the other missing wreckage. And for their part, the US and Japan have both officially stopped looking. The contents of the flight data recorder are naturally classified, though what is known is that large parts of the information it contains is missing due to damage. This implies a catastrophic crash into the ocean. But what is stranger is the fact that the pilot never seemed to call for help or indicate distress, aside from signaling an abort to the exercise. So what could have caused the crash? Perhaps there was a problem with the oxygen delivery system similar to what plagued the early F-22s, which caused dizziness and even blackouts among American pilots. If the pilot had experienced issues with his oxygen delivery system, he could very well have gotten extremely confused or outright blacked out. That would explain the lack of radio communications as the plane plummeted to its doom. However, the F-22 oxygen system issues were well documented across several aircraft, and no such problem has been made known about the F-35, so it's highly unlikely that this was the case. Another theory is that the plane was purposefully downed by a pre-positioned Chinese or Russian surface or aerial asset. Perhaps the plane was blasted by an electromagnetic weapon, which would have caused a loss of radio communications and potentially loss of control of the aircraft. Both China and Russia would have strong incentive to get their hands on an F-35, even if it was a crashed one, in order to plunder the secrets of its construction and materials. This is too unlikely though, as the F-35 is hardened against EMPs and would have required a very powerful blast of electromagnetic energy to seriously damage the craft. Even then, its sensitive onboard radars would have easily detected another plane or even a drone in the area, and the other 3 flight members would have definitely detected the discharge of a powerful electromagnetic weapon. If a traditional kinetic weapon such as a missile was used, there's simply no way that the F-35's missile defense systems wouldn't have reacted, and even that wouldn't explain the complete lack of communications. The last theory as to the cause of the crash is probably our favorite, the one we're not surprised to hear about at all. This theory, which is currently making the rounds on the internet, speculates that aliens disabled the aircraft, either by accident or on purpose. The thinking is that the F-35 presents one of the most advanced fighter aircraft in the human arsenal, and perhaps the aliens were testing their ability to knock one out of the sky in case of a conflict. Or perhaps the aliens are intergalactic klutzes, and Space Cadet First Class Mixablorp accidentally leaned on the death ray cannon's firing mechanism and blasted the fighter jet to smithereens. In that case, Japan is definitely owed reparations. In the case that the plane was blasted out of the sky because of the threat it might represent, well then we'd have to be dealing with pretty unimaginative aliens, as no species that can cross a galaxy should be afraid of an air-breathing fighter jet that can't even leave the atmosphere. If they truly wanted to destroy us, it would be easy as sitting in orbit and hurling large rocks down onto our heads. Whatever happened to the F-35 will probably remain a mystery, given how little evidence is publicly available given the extremely classified nature of the F-35 program. Sadly, what ultimately happened is likely only known to a few select American and Japanese officials, but we here at the Infographics show are confident that it was in fact Mixablorp who accidentally blasted the jet to pieces. He's always been an intergalactic klutz. If you like this video, watch our other video, US F-35 versus Russian Su-35 fighter jet. Which would win? And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more great content.